This story still scares me to this day, but it's one of the most important stories I have. I was 10 years old, living in Mesa, Arizona. We lived in a rough area, but I was a clueless kid. No sense of danger, no sense of how dark the world could get. One night, I was walking home from my friend's house. My mom always wanted me back by 9, so I'd usually start heading home around 8:40. It was only a few blocks, a short walk, but this was that time of year when the sun disappeared early. Dark by 7, and by 8, the streets felt empty, quiet, too quiet. I remember the orange streetlights buzzing above me, the long shadows stretching across the sidewalk. I didn't think anything of it. I was 10, just walking home. Then I heard a voice, a woman's voice, calling my name. I turned around. It was a woman I recognized, one of my mom's acquaintances, not close, not someone we really spent time with, but familiar enough that I didn't feel alarmed. So I smiled, waved, said hello. She walked up fast, too fast. She told me my mom had sent her, said there was an emergency at home, said I needed to come with her and her husband right now. Her tone was urgent. She kept repeating the words, "It's an emergency." I was only 5 minutes from my house, but I didn't question it. I was a kid. If someone said, "Your mom needs you," you listened. Still, my stomach tightened. My legs felt weak. Something felt wrong. I didn't know the word instinct back then, but that's exactly what it was. I stopped walking and asked, "Can we call my mom first?" She shook her head immediately, said my mom was at the hospital, said there was no time. Her husband was waiting in the car, the door already open, like they expected me to get in. Right then, right there, and just as I stepped toward it, I heard my name, my real name, my mother's voice, screaming it, panicked, sharp, coming from behind us. I turned and saw her running, full speed, toward me. I didn't think. I just sprinted to her. My mom grabbed me, looked me over, trembling. Then she looked at the woman. The woman didn't look surprised. She just stood there, like she'd been caught doing something she already accepted she'd get caught doing. My mom demanded, "What were you doing with my son?" The woman said calmly, "Oh, I saw him and thought I'd walk him home." Not the story she told me, not even close. So I told my mom what she'd actually said. About the emergency, about the hospital, about needing to go with them. My mom locked eyes with her. My mom has always known when I'm lying, and she knew I wasn't lying now. The woman stepped toward us, talking fast, trying to interrupt, but my mom cut her off, completely. Her face changed. Anger, fear, realization all at once. She said in a voice I will never forget, "You were trying to take my son." The woman froze. Her husband looked at us from the car window, and the moment he realized they'd been exposed, he started yelling at her to get in the car. Now. Right now. My mom shifted slightly, ready to fight. She always carried a small blade in her purse. I looked at the car, and that's when I saw it. A syringe, resting on the dashboard, like it had been waiting for someone like me. The woman jumped into the car. They sped off, fast, gone in seconds. My mom dropped to her knees, held me, cried harder than I'd ever seen. "I almost lost you," she kept saying. "God, I almost lost you." I didn't fully understand. Not then. I just knew something terrible had almost happened. Something meant specifically for me. My stepdad called the police. We never talked to that woman or her husband again. Not once. 3 months later, the police contacted us. They had arrested the couple. The charges were horrifying. Possession of illegal content on their computer. Bondage equipment found in their closet. Boxes of propofol, a drug used to knock people out. They had my photos saved on their computer, downloaded from my mom's Facebook. They'd been watching me for a long time. I didn't want to talk about it for years, because to this day, if I hadn't asked for those 10 seconds, just 10 seconds, to call my mom, I don't know where I'd be. I don't know if I'd be alive at all. My mom later told me she felt something that night. A sudden, overwhelming feeling that something was wrong. The same instinct I felt, but stronger, earlier. She got in the car and went looking for me, and she found me at the exact second she had to. I'm not a lucky person, not in the usual ways. But that night, I was the luckiest kid alive. After that, my mom never let me walk alone at night. She walked with me everywhere until I turned 13 and moved back to live with my dad. And even now, as an adult, that was the closest I ever came to disappearing forever. A story you hear on the news. A story you never think could happen to you. But for me, my life was 20 seconds away from becoming one of those stories. Old Revision 3351, posted 2 years ago. My girlfriend and I were driving cross-country for Thanksgiving. We were heading to her hometown, a few days earlier than planned. We hadn't told anyone, not her family, not mine. We'd spent the last few Thanksgivings together, so we just didn't say a word. This was 1992. No cell phones, no GPS, no one tracking us. We reached her town late at night, around 11, maybe midnight. We decided to stay at a hotel first. We wanted to surprise her family the next morning. Showing up at their house at midnight would have been the wrong kind of surprise. The room was actually pretty great. Small kitchen, a couch, a TV, a king-size bed, probably one of the nicer places we'd stayed in. I fell asleep immediately. She took a shower. Later, she told me she just lay there, unable to sleep until around 2 a.m. For context, it was an extended stay type hotel. The door opened directly into the parking lot. To the left of the bed was a sliding glass door. Straight ahead, the couch, the front door, a table, and a small window. The sliding door had curtains. The small window didn't close all the way. She noticed it, but she was too tired to care. The room was completely dark. It felt like no one could see in. Around 2 a.m., she rolled over to try and fall asleep, and from the tiny gap in the window curtain, she saw a flash, like a camera flash. But the parking lot was 50 feet away, so she convinced herself it was just a streetlight, and she finally drifted off. 5 a.m. I woke up to someone pounding on the sliding glass door. Hard, loud, relentless. Seconds later, she woke up too, confused, scared. The knocking didn't stop, just kept coming in heavy bursts. I thought maybe it was some drunk guy. Holiday season. Maybe someone came back late and walked up to the wrong room. But the knocking, it didn't sound like someone who was lost. Then it stopped for maybe 3 seconds and started again, this time on the front door. Let me be clear, this wasn't polite knocking. This wasn't police knocking. This was someone absolutely certain they needed to get inside our room, and they weren't going to stop until they did. I looked through the peephole. No one there. Then the pounding started again on the sliding glass door. If it were someone locked out of their own room, wouldn't they call out, say a name, anything? But there was nothing, just fists slamming into the glass, and I knew it wasn't the police. They would have announced themselves, loudly. I walked back to the sliding door. The knocking continued, harder now. When it finally stopped for a moment, I pulled the curtain back a few inches, just enough to look. Without contacts, I'm basically blind, and I wasn't wearing my glasses. So I had to press my face against the glass, trying to make out any shape outside. Nothing. No movement. No shadow. And as soon as I lifted the curtain, the pounding started again, right in front of my face. My stomach dropped. I tried not to panic, but my girlfriend could hear it in my voice. We were both way past scared. No one knew we were here. No one was playing a joke. Not family, not friends, no one. The only person who knew our room number was the older man at the front desk. And why on earth would he care? I started thinking about our chances if someone actually got inside. I'm only 5 feet 8 inches, 125 pounds. I talk big and I can throw a punch. But if someone bigger really wanted to hurt me, they easily could. The knocking didn't stop, so I called the front desk. The man answered on the second ring, sounded worried I was calling at that hour. I explained everything, and he could hear the pounding through the phone. He said he would send security immediately. The knocking went on for another minute. Then, silence. 2 or 3 minutes later, the phone rang again. He told me security checked the area. They didn't see anyone, not a single sign that someone had been there. He apologized for the disturbance, tried to sound reassuring, but we didn't sleep again, not until daylight. Morning. When we finally stepped outside, there was a single footprint, just one, leading away from the sliding glass door. That was it. One lonely print. And the strange part? This was a safe neighborhood. Her town, where she grew up. She always felt safe here. That's why we chose this hotel in the first place. But that night, it was terrifying. And we still don't know what happened. I still think about it sometimes, and it still makes my skin crawl. I've never found a logical explanation for this. Not in 20 years. This happened back in 2003. My ex-wife and I had taken a short vacation to a coastal resort, the kind with individual cottages, private, quiet, isolated. Each cottage was spaced out, at least 200 meters between neighbors. You couldn't hear anyone, you couldn't see anyone, just the wind and the ocean. It felt peaceful during the day. At night, not so much. 11 to 11:30 p.m., we turned the lights off, left only the TV glowing in the corner. We were drinking beer, relaxing, talking quietly. Then, the door handle shook, hard. Not like someone knocking, not like someone brushing past, but like someone trying to force the door open, violently twisting the handle, again and again. There was no deadbolt, just a simple push lock. Cheap, old, nothing that would stop a determined person. My instinct kicked in immediately. I jumped off the bed, threw my full weight against the door. The second my feet hit the floor, the handle kept turning. Whoever it was, they heard me, but they didn't stop. I dropped flat on the floor, pressed my cheek to the cold wooden boards, trying to look through the tiny gap beneath the door. That gap was big enough to see movement, to see shadows, to see feet, something. But there was nothing. No legs, no shoes, no shifting shadows, just the handle violently rattling inches from my face. I whispered to my ex-wife not to move, not to make a sound. The handle kept twisting and twisting and twisting. But whoever was doing it wasn't standing there, at least not where they should have been. I whispered to my ex-wife not to move, not to make a sound. The handle kept twisting and twisting and twisting. But whoever was doing it wasn't standing there, at least not where they should have been. I stared at that gap for what felt like a full minute. Nothing moved, no footsteps, no breathing, no shifting weight, just the metal clatter of the handle. Then it stopped. Just stopped. Abruptly. But there were no footsteps walking away. No sand crunching outside. No voice. No shadow. Nothing. We waited. Minutes felt like hours. The TV's glow flickered across the room, and I kept staring at the bottom of the door, waiting for movement, terrified of seeing anything appear. But the silence didn't break. Not once. After a long time, maybe 5 minutes, I stood up, very slowly. My ex-wife whispered, "Don't open it." But I had to. I had to know. I opened the door. The night was completely still, windless, quiet. The ocean sounded far away. Nothing was in front of the cottage, no one around the sides, no one behind. And the sand, completely untouched, smooth, clean. No footprints, no dragged marks, no sign that anyone had ever been near our door, not even ours yet, because we still hadn't stepped outside. Something had tried to get in, but left no trace at all. We grabbed our things, didn't even pack, just stuffed what we could into bags, and we left, immediately. To this day, I have no explanation, human or otherwise, and honestly, I'm not sure I want one.